It's a very quiet afternoon, as always. Since I can't go outside as myself, I have to match schedules with Mion when I go shopping. I've gotten used to it by now, so it's no longer a hassle. Because of this, I naturally have to buy things in bulk. Today, I shuttled between shops and my home. I got this, I got that. Oh wait, isn't it a 100 yen sale today? I forgot this. Being in a good mood, I spun around with my arms spread out. I felt like a little whirlwind. My arm hit a motorcycle parked into the sidewalk. It obviously wasn't where it was supposed to be. Ow. What the? Who parked this motorcycle here? I gave it a kick with no hesitation. There were 3 motorcycles lined up there in a row. They all fell like dominoes. It was a beautiful sight. This is fun, I thought. Being in such a good mood made me leave my guard down. I didn't realize that the owner of the motorcycles were right nearby, and they looked pretty scary. They grabbed me by the neck and dragged me into a dark alley. Then they all called me all sorts of names. Everything was happening too quickly for me to grasp what was going on.
The fuck you, bitch? What you think you doing, huh? Fucking bash your head in, bitch! Yeah! Gonna pay for what you did!
Wow. They really can't talk properly. I didn't have a clue what they were saying. I had to translate their alien tongue into normal human words in order to understand. We are very upset because you knocked down our motorcycles. You should immediately pay for the repair and compensation. Yeah, that's probably it. That's our offer. What do you say? We'd be happy to listen to your opinion. Something like that, maybe.
Ugh! What in there?
Sorry, I don't think I can continue interpreting.
Huh? What you say?
I don't know what they're trying to say, but somebody has to warn them. The way they park their motorcycles. It wouldn't be fair to those who obey the rules if there were no punishment for those who disobey them. This is an accident, but it must also be God's will. But God, you can use me to punish these guys, but how will you compensate me later? I heaved a huge sigh. Of course, I wasn't afraid in this situation at all, because it wasn't a dangerous one for me. These 3 guys were yelling at the top of their lungs at a girl. They didn't look good doing it, and they had blah. Talking is hard. They didn't look good doing it, and they had too many disadvantages. First, there was the difference in gender and in the number of people. Even if I did something wrong as men shouting at a woman, it didn't make them look like they were in the right. Added to that, there were 3 of them. It already looked like it was going to get violent. Second, the location. Taking a girl into a dark, narrow alleyway is already a bad idea. And on top of that, they're asking for money, not just an apology. Thanks to these facts, the public will be on my side. So this was an easy fight they couldn't possibly win. The only way for them to win would be to take my money before someone else finds out. Considering that, taking me into this narrow, secluded alleyway might have been a smart move, since fewer people will find out about this situation.
Huh? You listening to that?
I knew how slim their chances of winning were. From the very beginning, they had picked the wrong girl. I'm Mion Shonozaki now. It'd be foolish to mug her in Okinomiya. Soon enough, the people of Hamanazawa would notice me and gather round. They didn't spare mercy for their enemies, no matter what. The punks didn't know this area very well. If they did, they'd have known how silly it is to rob Mion. Plus, the alleyway isn't always as empty as they assumed. This side street is a shortcut which local people frequently use on their way home. In the late afternoon, many people will be passing through here. That time had almost arrived. If I held off a little longer, the street would soon be full of people. Then the punks would have to go away. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to wait in order to win. This was a simple fight like that. While they could hurl abusive language at me or lift me up by my collar, they weren't actually going to resort to violence. Cheers to the educational system for ingraining the ladies first mindset. But as a wicked person, I wanted to toy with them a little bit, even though I could win this by waiting. I wanted to paint them as even more villainous and drive them into a corner that would be even harder to talk their way out of. That demonic desire was rearing its horns. To put it plainly, I need only to act as the poor, helpless victim a little further. Like the pathetic, pitiful, tragic heroine everybody wants to sympathize with. In cases like this, I shouldn't start crying immediately because they'd get nervous and draw back. If it were truly a threatening situation, that would work, but I needed something different here. I'd pretend to be strong at first. In fact, I thought, why don't I challenge them? And eventually, I'd start trembling, my voice would fade, and I'd get tears in my eyes. It'd be even better if I played the role of a strong girl who's slowly giving in to fear. Mion and I are probably the only ones who are capable of pulling off that kind of stuff. Well, I'm probably better at it than her. Why don't you let me go now? I already apologized. I talked back with a little hesitation. Am I getting tears yet? Yes. By the way, I've heard men can't shed tears on command. I feel sorry for them. The three punks faltered a bit due to my sudden change in attitude, but they soon started yelling at me again. I had to keep it going. That way they'd blatantly look like they were picking on a helpless girl. Please, forgive me.
What you doing? What's with this girl, huh?
I don't.
Maybe you should stop apologizing like that from the start.
It looked like they were laying off a bit. Did I overdo it a little? It'd be boring if they let me go now. At that moment... Cut it out!
Don't you see her crying? Stop it!
Oh, wait. A boy around my age appeared. He was skinny. He looked weak. He looked younger than he probably was. He also looked smart. He bravely glared at the punks.
What the hell? Who the fuck are you? Back the fuck off! Ah!
The punks turned away from me to face the boy instead. The boy looked a bit agitated when the punks started yelling at him. They sure were ruthless. But the boy must have known that from the beginning. He must have known that he was going into a dangerous situation, yet he didn't hesitate.
Fucking say something! Why don't you answer this?
He must have wanted to shout back at them, but he probably never used that kind of language in his life. So he couldn't have expressed his feelings out loud. He might have not even known what to say. So he just kept glaring at them, to let them know that he wasn't going anywhere. The three punks, though, might have thought that he was just lost for words in his fear. But I knew different. The boy was overpowering them with nothing but his will. The punks were losing. So they resorted to violence. They grabbed him and knocked him down. They hit, kicked, and tossed him around. It looked painful, but I knew. It was his victory. In the end, a local passerby stopped the punks. They made no further fuss and just went away. The boy stood up. He was covered in dust. He smiled when our eyes met. and asked me if I was alright. He didn't look particularly okay himself, though. How could you step into a fight you obviously couldn't win? Pick your opponents better next time.
I hesitated at first.
He laughed, saying that he was watching from the beginning. That meant he had the option to walk away, but instead he worked up the courage and stepped in. That was reckless, not brave.
You're being a little harsh, Mion. You should at least say thank you. I saw you crying.
No, I wasn't crying. That was just an act.
Oh, okay.
Hey! You don't believe me, do you? Do you really think I'd cry?
No. Nobody believed Mion Sonozaki would cry when punks bullied her.
Then why are you laughing? You really don't believe that was an act? I'd never cry.
I believe you. I do.
I realized one thing. He must be one of Sis's friends. He didn't seem to realize I'm her twin. He thought I was Mion with a different hairstyle. Mion and I had to live separately since before we went to elementary school. Mion was in Hamanazawa and I was in Okinomiya. I lived in a totally different environment from her. So it's not strange that people don't know me. Actually, only very few people know I exist. I almost told him that I'm not Mion, but I managed to stop myself. Shion shouldn't be here. He's from Hamanazawa. It wouldn't be good if he thought he saw Mion looking up. It wouldn't be good if he thought he saw a Mion lookalike in Okinomiya. So I had to act like Mion. Dealing with him could be more difficult than handling these punks.
Well, I was just relieved because you seem to have a girly side after all.
You sound hostile. What exactly do you mean by that?
I thought you'd kick those guys' butts with some crazy martial arts. So, I was really surprised when you just started crying.
Hey! Like I said, I was acting. Weren't you listening at all? He gently put his hand on top of my head and stroked it as if stroking a kitten. I could remember somebody doing that to me when I was little, but it had been quite a while since somebody stroked my head. I didn't know what to do. Why did it make me so embarrassed? My face reddened all at once. I couldn't say anything. Hey! Are you making fun of me? I stuttered in embarrassment. He looked calm, as if he was used to doing this.
Whatever. Aren't you glad, though?
Glad? What do you mean?
Well, you didn't get hurt.
He smiled while he kept stroking my head. His smile looked divine. He wasn't going to stay for long. He'd already saved me from those guys, after all.
Well, I need to get going. So, I should head off now?
Okay. I wanted to go through all the steps of meeting someone for the first time, but he didn't. As far as he was concerned, he just saved a friend from danger and wanted to leave quickly to avoid seeming pretentious. He and Mion must be friends who knew each other well, so I couldn't bring myself to ask, "What's your name?" Mion's friend smiled once again. His smile looked as refreshing as a clear blue sky. This time, he smiled a bit mischievously.
Don't worry. I won't tell anybody you were crying. Well, no one would believe it if I told them anyway. Nobody would ever believe that our invincible class president cried.
He patted the dust off his butt once again. He walked back to the sunny main road away from the dark alley. Then he turned around. See you. In school tomorrow, I mean. Yeah. See you in school. He disappeared into the brightly lit street. I continued to sit in the gloomy alleyway. I could no longer see him. I was just staring absent-mindedly at the bright light. That was the first time I'd met Satoshi-kun. I'm not even allowed to walk freely under the sun. I met a boy on a sunny day. How come a perverse girl like me fell in love with his innocence? Notebook page 5. That must be Satoshi. He looks like what you described, and he has a habit of stroking people's heads. Aha. His name is Satoshi-kun? Huh. The boy from earlier is called Satoshi Hujo-kun. Mion said that he's always daydreaming, so she didn't believe that he saved me at first. His little sister is always kicking his butt. Aha. He has a little sister. Yeah, her name is Satoko. She's funny and shrewd, but is quick to cry when she's cornered. She's fun to watch, but things have been rough for her lately, so she's feeling a bit down. His sister came up naturally in the conversation. I tried to soak up every scrap of information about Satoshi-kun. Why? Why am I even trying to ask this much about him? As I asked myself that, the feeling I got when he stroked my head came back to me. I must have been blushing. Hello? Chion? Sorry. I'm here, I'm listening. To start, I hear Satoko's on bad terms with her aunt. Satoshi's mature, so he knows how to conduct himself, but when bad things happen, Satoko really lets herself go. What Sis told me was very interesting. She told me that the parents of Satoshi-kun and his little sister are dead. Satoshi-kun and Satoko are now living with their aunt and uncle. They don't seem like a very respectable that sort of people. They're always fighting, and the uncle is cheating on the aunt. He mostly lives with his mistress. Satoshi-kun and Satoko entered that unwelcome environment. What surprises me the most is the fact that Satoshi-kun's parents were the Hujo couple who were the leaders of the pro-dam activists. That fact must have added something to the situation. I don't know what kind of stance the uncle and aunt took during the dam conflict, but they must have taken some indirect blows. Satoshi-kun's parents died after bothering them so much, and even left them their children. The uncle and aunt obviously can't love those kids. Things have gotten worse this past year, too. Women can be really nasty bullies. Sometimes it doesn't matter who they're bullying, even if it's a kid. On top of that, women tend to care less about property than men. As a result, Satoko seemed exhausted with it all. I can imagine Satoshi-kun bravely protecting his little sister, just like when he saved me. So, he must be exhausted too, right? Huh? He must be covering for Satoko all the time. So, wouldn't you normally assume that he's also feeling worn out? Well, I don't know. Had I said something wrong? Mion sounded a bit taken aback. So that meant Mion can't tell how he's feeling? Because he's always wearing that blank look, so she never considered it? How can she be that insensitive even though she's around him all the time? I was amazed to realize that. Well, anyway, what does he usually do? He looks smart, so does he read a lot of books? Yeah, you're right. He likes to read. He's now reading, what's it called? I continued asking about him. about what he likes, dislikes, and what he thinks about. I asked Sis all these questions because I wanted to know more about him. It was the first time I'd ever been that interested in somebody. I didn't want to admit that I had feelings like that. Did I fall in love just because of a stroke on the head? Am I that stupid or what? When I remembered the feelings of his hand on my head, my heart feels tingly. I tried doing it myself, but it didn't feel the same. I'm stupid. What am I doing, stroking my own head? Sis, I'm done for. I became stupid. What? Why are you laughing? Is that in that weird voice? You wouldn't understand this feeling, Sis. When would I see him again? I felt as if my suffocating life had finally grown brighter. The life I lived really was beginning to suffocate me. I couldn't go out freely, and I was always had to make arrangements with Mion before going to work. I'd thought my life would improve after escaping from school, but in reality it wasn't that easy. It's not healthy to live like this for too long. Without any friends to hang out with, I felt like I was hibernating. I started to feel the dangers of falling into boredom. All I could think of now was Satoshi Hujo-kun's face. I'd only met him briefly, but my encounter with him had a great impact in my new life. I felt like something exciting was going to happen. Really, I was hyped up like a little kid. The more I thought about it, I realized I'd been thinking about him a lot lately. This might be a crush. I felt a little ridiculous idolizing him in such a romantic way, though. Then, out of the blue, I got a chance to see him again. Oh? Ow? I saw a familiar face at the twilight in the park. He was sitting on the swing. He looked like he was zoning out, or maybe deep in thought. He didn't notice me, even though I was right in front of him. I reminded myself to speak and act like Mion before talking to him. Hey! What are you doing here?
Mion, you surprised me.
You don't look surprised. I've been standing here for a couple of minutes now. Didn't you notice me?
Have you? Sorry, I didn't.
He smiled derisively, and shrugged. He looked depressed, like something was troubling him. Is something bugging you? You can talk to me if you want. Maybe I can help.
No, that's okay.
Come on, I owe you one from before, Satoshi-kun. Or maybe you don't think this old man can be of any help. Don't you know how mighty I am?
I'm okay. You don't have to help me.
Huh? What is it then? Are you saying that you don't need help from a girl? Thinking him unfair, I puffed up my cheeks in a sulky gesture. Satoshi-kun noticed that and smiled.
No, Mion. It's just... I messed up my swing when they needed me the most.
I mentally rifled through all the information about Satoshi-kun that Sis had given me. He doesn't look like much of an athlete, but apparently Satoshi-kun belongs to a junior baseball team. They're called the Haminazawa Fighters. I doubt he's very skilled, since I didn't hear much about his contributions to the team. Maybe that's why he doesn't tell many people that he's a member. Given how down he felt as a result of messing up, though, he must be fairly dedicated. I deduced all that from what Sis told me, and I carefully chose my words so to sound like her. What? Are you feeling down just because of that?
It's not that easy for me to get over, Mion.
I pat his back while chuckling. Satoshi-kun would probably call me insensitive. I knew I should listen to him rather than trying to cheer him up. Acting like sis was probably the wrong thing to do in this case, but I had no choice. This was just how she'd react in this situation. Instead of feeling down, you should practice even harder and aim for your chance, you know? Practice makes perfect here. Well, if you want to beat the opposing pitcher so badly you're willing to put in some tricks, then I might be able to help you in a few ways.
There's no point if I cheat.
Satoshi-kun hung his head after letting his regrets out with a big sigh. Surrender, defeat, resignation were all visible in that gesture of his. Are you quick to give up or persistent? If you're a man, then don't you want to be a star and have your 15 minutes of fame? Satoshi-kun grinned and said yes.
Of course, that'd be wonderful. But that's not why I play baseball. I just want to have fun batting and throwing the ball. You can understand that, right?
This old man isn't sure. I only love games that I can win. I don't understand how you can love something when you can't be the best at it.
That really sounds like you, Mion.
Having realized that I'm trying to make him feel better, he laughed along. He didn't look depressed anymore. I guess he just is feeling down because of the game. He wasn't as depressed as I thought. Maybe I just jumped into conclusions when I saw him sitting alone in the park.
You always put forth your best effort to win. That's admirable, I think. Yeah, it definitely is.
He smiled gently and stood up. Then he started stroking my head. All of a sudden. I totally wasn't prepared for that. Eh? Whoa, I thought this was when he did this last time, but how can he stroke somebody's head so easily? I felt like I had turned into a little kid. Memories from kindergarten came to mind. My face must have been red. I felt embarrassed, but also like I was in heaven. Satoshi-kun stroked me as though petting a cat. I was blushing with my eyes closed. I felt helpless, like a girl being treated by the dentist with her mouth open and her eyes shut. Satoshi-kun didn't seem to notice my feelings at all. He didn't seem to care. I hated him. With my eyes still closed, I waited for him to finish. He suddenly withdrew his hand.
I need to get going. My aunt wants some stuff, so I have to go to the grocery shopping.
Okay. My voice faltered. I was so embarrassed. I'm going shopping, too.
What? You are? I thought the maids did all your household stuff.
Shoot. I messed up. In the main Sonozaki house, the maids do everything. Therefore, Mion hardly goes grocery shopping, and she's bragged to some people about that. I should have known better. Still, it wouldn't be too hard to find an excuse. I just happened to be in town, so I thought I'd help out with the household stuff. Is that a problem?
That doesn't sound like you. You always avoid doing boring stuff like that.
You talk too much. Stop stroking my head. Satoshi-kun seemed to be having fun with how embarrassed I'd get when he patted me. Anyway, I managed to talk my way out of it. He didn't seem to really care about the details. While walking with Satoshi-kun in the shopping district of Kamiishiki, it suddenly occurred to me, why had I messed up? I'd known Mion would never go grocery shopping. What an amateurish mistake. Did I make that mistake when I was pretending to be Mion? No. I was probably speaking as Shion. I couldn't keep lying to myself. I had to just admit it. It was simple because I wanted to spend as much time with Satoshi-kun as possible. It was easy to see why I was so attracted to him. I found something intriguing in my boring life, and I didn't have to feel tense because he thought I was somebody else, etc., etc. His easygoing nature made him fun to be around, and his habit of petting people on the head was fun too. From these symptoms, I could tell I was embracing the feelings of love. I was just casually enjoying that feeling. It wasn't that I fell in love with him. I was just having fun. I could simply spend some fun time with Satoshi-kun without having too much to think about. Which one is broccoli? The green one? Or the yellow one? That's cauliflower, Satoshi-kun. Hey, could it be that you can't tell lettuce from cabbage either? I'm not that bad. I'm doing my best here. Satoshi-kun stared at the heaps of broccoli and cauliflower. After thinking for a while, he reached out for the wrong one. That's not it. Watching you shop is like being on a roller coaster. It's a lot of fun for me, though. You got me. Satsuko can't tell the difference either. Which is broccoli and which is cauliflower. You guys are too funny. Sis had told me that Satoshi was a flaky big brother to his nagging little sister. I hadn't met Satsuko, but she must be having a tough time dealing with Satoshi-kun. He stumbles over everything he buys, after all. That's cooking salt. It's mixed with pepper. It's different from regular salt. Oh, is it? I think I saw salt and pepper separate in a science experiment once. Stop making excuses and just put it back on the shelf. This is normal salt. What are you getting next? You're being a great help, Mion. You look smart, but you have a serious issue. I think you should study more. That's a little harsh. There. Is this it? In it goes. Ah! That's not it! Don't just throw anything into the basket. Check the price and how many servings it has first. My first impression of Satoshi-kun was that he was strong and reliable. But the more I spoke to him, the more surprised I was at how clumsy and unreliable he was. How do I put it? It was hard to leave him alone. He was dangerous on his own. If he wasn't careful, he might start wondering, do you cross the street when the light is red? Or was it green? And then get himself run over by a dump truck. Ugh. Your total is 1,780 yen. Do you have a membership card? Huh? Oh, yeah, I do. Where is it? Sorry, we can't seem to find it, so we'll be alright for today. I finished checking out, ignoring Satoshi-kun as he fished through his wallet full of receipts. That was horrible, Mion. You made me waste points. Don't go slowly fishing through your wallet to look for your member's card in the middle of an evening shopping rush. There was a huge line behind us. Didn't you notice all the evil glares from all the old ladies? Listen, at times like that, you should just get out before reaching the register. You should get it out before reaching the register. Oh, right. That's good to know. It's not only when you go shopping. The same thing goes for when you ride a bus. Satoshi-kun, I bet you don't open your wallet and start looking for change until you're about to get off and have to pay while holding up everyone behind you. Ha! You know what that means? You're being a super huge bother to everyone. You need to have the money out beforehand. That's just good manners. Do you get it? Okay. You're scary today, Mion. Satoshi-kun smiled as if patronizing me. I couldn't believe it. He was definitely the type who made women want to protect him. Sure, he was fine as he was when he had a busybody like me around him, but I couldn't stop worrying whether he was able to function in society without someone like that nearby. We got plastic bags and sorted out what we had bought. Satoshi-kun put a pack of tofu at the bottom of the bag. I slapped his hand and put it in a milk carton instead. Okay, there we go. Now your aunt won't freak out when she opens the shopping bag in her kitchen.
Thanks. You helped me a lot. I don't think I'm very good at shopping.
Just shopping? That's definitely not the only thing. Just kidding. I had realized a few things while I was spending time with him today. He's not just bad at shopping. He's also chronically clumsy. God. Speaking today. In general, you could call him a slow thinker. That meant when he stepped into the quarrel with the punks, he must have needed a lot of courage. He might be a simpleton, but he's not stupid. He's aware of his weaknesses. So, he must have been aware of the danger in that situation. He could have chosen to walk away even though I was in trouble, but he chose to be a man and step in. That was really admirable of him. Good boy. You did a great job. There.
What is it? Don't stroke my head.
I'm rewarding you for shopping successfully today. There.
You're making fun of me, aren't you, Mion?
No, I'm not. Can you go home by yourself? Do you know how to get there?
You are making fun of me.
Satoshi-kun's sulky face flushed red. He's just too cute. At that point, I caught a glimpse of a billboard from the corner of my eye. Piano lessons, call XX. Abacus class. Junior baseball team members wanted. It was a posting for the team Satoshi-kun belonged to. It showed the day, time, and place of their next practice. By then, I knew just how flaky he was. I figured he must be just the same when playing baseball. Satoshi-kun realized that I was reading the posting. He looked uncomfortable and walked away. I know what you're thinking. I hope you won't come and see me playing baseball, Mion. Am I right? What does that mumbling mean? I know I'm right. Satoshi-kun became quiet. After mumbling something, it seemed like he couldn't say anything back since I had been right on the money. Satoshi-kun, you're just too cute. I don't think going silent is a good way to dodge the issue. Well, that might have just been the way innocent people like him would react in this situation. See you, Satoshi-kun. It's getting dark, so be careful on your way back.
Aren't you going home, Mion? To Hamanazawa?
I have to make a stop somewhere else first. Don't worry about me.
I'll help you this time, in return.
I'm okay. Well, what are you going to help me with anyway? You should learn to support yourself before trying to help me.
You're really mean today.
He seemed to have some pride, at least. He looked a bit upset because he was teased by a girl, but in contrast, I felt very satisfied. As a result, I forgot to keep my guard up.
Thank you for the help. That was sweet of you.
Wow. While wearing a bright smile, Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head again. I know he's teasing me, but I can't reject him. He keeps doing it only because he realizes I won't resist.
See you, Mion. You should go home before it gets dark. See you in school tomorrow.
Yeah. See you in school tomorrow, too. In fact, I wouldn't see him tomorrow at all. It felt awkward, but I had to settle for that. I had to thank Sis for letting me use her name. After I separated from him, I found myself giddy and wishing to see him again as soon as possible. I wanted to know more about him. I couldn't wait for my next chance to see him. Actually, maybe there was something I could do. Just like when I obtained my freedoms from St. Lucia's, I could choose how to live my life. Whatever, it wasn't that complicated. I just wanted to tease him more and wanted him to stroke my head more. And, whatever. I already knew the schedule for his baseball team. New tip, a crumpled diary.
My aunt finally stopped her hysterical screaming. Today was just like any other day. I can't remember what sets her off. Whatever it was, she changed subjects constantly anyway. It didn't matter. She went on past midnight again. The urge to sleep was pounding the back of my head. Once Satoko had been able to relax, she fell down on the spot and started sleeping, still clinging to my sleeve. I carried Satoko to the bedroom and laid out our futons. Here, Satoko, your futon is ready. So get in, okay? Satoko crawled in like a worm. She stopped moving once she was inside. I wish I could go to bed too. But I couldn't. My aunt asked me to do some chores. I had to get toothpaste after school tomorrow. I had to write it down somewhere. I had to make rice for lunch tomorrow. I set the timer. Right. I also had to repile the towels in the bathroom. That was the reason for today's scolding. My aunt would get mad if everything wasn't done the way she wants. Oh, and there was something else. I was working at the grocery store the next day. They wanted me to bring an apron. Did we even have an apron in this house? I'd never seen one. My aunt will be sleeping when I go to school, so I won't have time to ask her. What should I do? Since Mion helped me get that job, I don't want to screw it up. In that case, why don't I ask Mion about it at school? She might lend me one. Was there anything else? I was a bit envious of Satoko, because she got to go to bed. It was pathetic, but I felt that way.
All right. That was a pretty nice thing. I kind of got the impression from the stuff I'd kind of seen before and from the past chapters that Shion and Satoshi had a thing. Like there was a thing there. And this kind of proves it, that Shion basically kind of love him first sight sort of deal. But I had a thought while thinking of it. It's like Satoshi's main gimmick seems to be the head pats and like rubbing people's heads. Whereas in all the previous chapters set after this, it is Rika who does the head pats to everyone. And like, unless I can't remember, like, I honestly can't remember the 4th chapter where it was mostly Rika focused. I don't think Rika did the head pat gimmick at all in that. And there would have been a couple times for her to do it to Akasaka in that chapter, but I don't think she did it at all. So I'm wondering if because Satoshi disappears or whatever, Rika kind of takes up that gimmick from him by doing the head pats all the time, as maybe like keeping that tradition going or whatever. Because it seems like Satoshi does it like as much as Rika does it, and even like unprovoked just starts patting people's heads. So I could see that, because I'm very unsure. My memory has faded. It's like I don't remember all the finer details. But that'd be an interesting thing if that's like the reason why Rika does that in all the previous chapters, is because of this. Satoshi as a character, a little more clumsy and like not knowing what he's doing. Like I thought he'd be a little more have it together, but he, like, wait for me to hit a voice kind of on the head, he does seem like he's just kind of this spaced out kind of dreamer character. But that might be because he's tired all the time. If he's having to stay up all night doing these chores and he can't really go to sleep or whatever. So he's got like, and he has to be up for school. So he's just running on low energy all the time. And as a person who stays up and has to like work and does a lot of long days, I totally get the feeling. I know how it feels to just be on low energy mode basically all the time. And that's kind of where I feel Satoshi is. He's just on low energy mode all the time because he has to keep staying up and he can't get a lot of sleep. Especially in this situation with the ant, he's not exactly all there all the time because he's tired. You know, you can't be all there if you're running on like fumes most of the time. But it kind of also seems that this is also partially his personality anyway. He's just kind of, he's always, you know, off in the distance or, you know, zoning out to miles away sort of deal. But definitely from the Satoshi that we've seen so far, it doesn't grant me the impression that he's also the one to abandon Satoko and run away. So I definitely get the feeling that something happened to him and he didn't just leave. And I definitely feel like this chapter is going to probably end with like why he left or what happened to him. I would like it if he left. That means his character can come back. I would be a little more disappointed if by the end of this Satoshi's actually dead. Like he got killed and then no one ever found his body. I'd like it more if he left because I want him to come back later sort of deal. But I don't know. He's not in any of the past chapters, which are set a year away from this, but that doesn't mean he can't come back later than that. I don't know. I don't know. I like him though. He's alright. I like that Shion is kind of like, oh god, I've fallen in love with this boy. Oh jeez, I processed these emotions. I have to be Mion, but I can't. And she's just gonna be all fucking all that. All that over Satoshi-kun. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, now that she's met Satoshi-kun, it's probably going to be opening the doors that she may meet the rest of the cast. That's what I continually want. I haven't done a lot of their voices in forever. That's not counting the extra episode I did before this. But yeah, so I'd like to see the rest of them show up. I assume this is going to start running into problems. I get the feeling Satoshi-kun might figure it out, but if he's as spacey as they seem to be making him out to be, he might just never figure it out. But I get a strong feeling he's probably going to figure it out. And that's going to lead to issues or problems or something. I don't know. Other than that, not really much happened this episode. There was that weird notebook thing that showed up. And I read it in my normal voice because I didn't, another one of those things you don't know who's talking. But the contents make it seem like it's Shion's notebook. And actually, a lot of the dialogue in the actual, just like normal stuff of this, makes this sound like it's Shion recounting this story to someone else in the future. Like, a lot of the inner monologue stuff seems like it's talking from the point of view of Shion in the future telling the story of this, rather than this is present time for all the characters involved, including the inner monologue. But I don't know, and I only really get that from when she said, this is the first time I met Satoshi-kun, which was kind of weird because she said that, and then like the next section that happened right after it, Mion told Shion his name and all about him. So why include this line as like, this was the first time I met him? It's like, okay, we can kind of assume that was the first time you met him, and we already kind of knew that his name was Satoshi-kun, and there was no reason for that line, especially if you tell us in the very next, like, paragraph, basically, of this story. So it makes me think, like, maybe there's going to be a time skip in this where it's going to be like, and now we skip a bit and we're more present day Shion or whatever, like after the stuff has happened or something. I don't know. I mean, this story already seems like it's skipping a bunch of time. Like, it feels like it's been a few weeks since the beginning, since she escaped. It's been a while, and she's just kind of been used to it. Unlike the past chapters, which all happened over like 3 days, maybe a week. This one seems like there's a decent, like, each of these parts all seem to like and sometimes fast and sometimes fast, and time in like days. So I don't know. Very interesting. Looking forward to the next chapter. Don't have very many predictions based on this. This is all character development stuff. Meeting the new character of Satoshi, of course, and all that. So, yeah, I'm just as interested in the next chapter just to see what it's even going to be about. And I hope you guys are too. So, see you all next time.